today. I'm told that in addition to the plan that we saw last week, which I guess, for lack of a better term, is what we'll call the CASA plan, there has been no additional plan submitted in the intervening week. So I think, you know, I've reviewed the CASA plan, and we'll take obviously any comments or other submissions that anyone has regarding that plan. It certainly is more mathematically balanced than the current plan, so it's, in that respect, at least it's an improvement. And so I think that from here the process will be, we'll take whatever comments anybody has about this plan, the current plan, a yet unsubmitted plan, whatever you want to talk about tonight, you're certainly welcome to talk about for as long as you'd like to, subject to the chairman's views on that subject. After that, we will, I've been asked to create a draft plan on behalf of the committee, which I will do, taking into account the CASA plan, any submissions here this evening, any additional submissions that come in to the city via however we take submissions, and of course conversations that I will have individually with the individual committee members. I have not had any conversations with anyone who's not on the committee in terms of other aldermen, but they're certainly free to give their input as well. But there will be no meetings or closed door meetings between the committee or the other aldermen in that regard. And I think, you know, if all goes well, we certainly intend to have a draft plan available for all of you to review by the end of next week. That's the plan. Everybody can digest that throughout the holidays, and then we'll come back for more hearings in January before there's a vote on whatever the proposal or proposals are. There's certainly, it's possible that there will be more than one proposal for consideration. So given that the state of affairs right now seems to be the CASA plan, if anybody has comments about that, we'll start with those. If anybody has an additional wants to talk about a plan other than the CASA plan, we'll do that second, so that everybody's not confused. How's that for an order of events? Okay? All right, great. So if anybody would like to offer any, I'm sorry. Okay, well, we're going to hear from the CASA folks first. Great. Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ruth Greenwood. I saw many of you last week, and I told you that we were going to have some free online mapping software available. So this company, Zillion Info is the company. They produce this thing called Redistrict. It's supported by National Science Foundation grants. Anyway, we have this available to us. So if you go to the casablueisland.org website, let's see, and it says, do you want to submit a proposed map? You can select on Redistrict. It will ask you to log in. See, we're logged in. So you just go into here. If you come on this side, you can load or unload plans. I put, and this is the current plan and the CASA plan. If anybody else saves a plan in the system and you hit publish, well, I'll show you here, in your plan gallery, if you hit edit and publish, you can load the publish. You can publish it to the public plan, and then everyone in the city who logs in will be able to see your plan and assess whether they like it or dislike it. The way that you would do edits to a plan, and I've got little videos on the website, so I won't go through all of this right now. That way, let's just zoom in a little. If I decided that I wanted to add in a little bit more of this district to this district, I draw a little polygon, as they say. Now, I'm connected through my phone to the internet because we've discussed the Wi-Fi at multiple. But anyway, so it may go slowly. So anyway, I go, okay, I want to add that into District 4, Ward 4. And then it will work to put, oh dear, I've broken the contiguity. So if that happens, it usually means you're zoomed out too far. So say I try again. Add it in. Anyway, you can go through, and I recreated the CASA plan. I recreated it using the system, so just moving the census blocks into and out of different districts. So you can start with the current plan and then work your way around. You can start with the CASA plan, or any of the other ones that get put on there. So let's add that. then, it takes a little while, and then it will move. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's try adding something else. But anyway, and then as you make changes, you can come down here, and you can see that it will show you the population, the deviations, and as you go across, you can see the percentage of the total population, voting age, etc. Anyway, so the idea is that you should be able to go on, play around. You can look at the videos that I've posted of me, and the screen, not my face, just the screen. You'll see the videos here. So a series of tutorials to show you how to log in and do the mapping. It will take about, 7 minutes in total to read to watch all of the videos, and then you should be able to draw maps and publish them to all of your fellows. So, before we continue, I guess.
Excuse me, is there a way that, I don't know if you can hold, you could take the mic out, I believe, because they can't hear it on TV, I guess.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It comes out.
I'm finished. So if you go to casablueisland.org, go to the proposed wards page, you can select the IRE district's logo, go in and draw your own maps, and then everybody in the city can see them. You can also choose to not show them to the city until you're ready, so you could just have them as private maps and then eventually publish them to the city. So I think now Mark wanted to go over the map, is that right?
Sure. Okay, so I think some folks were not here at the previous meeting, so I would like to touch on a couple of things. Our current ward maps have 7 wards for the city of Blue Island. There's 2 aldermen in each ward, and so that for a total of 14. But the issue right at hand is the 7 wards. So the city of Blue Island is drawn into, broken down into 7 districts for each of those wards. There's some maps on the bench back there that you may have seen coming in. And the last time they were drawn was 1996. So the population per ward is not equal, nowhere close to being equal. In fact, it's outside, as Ruth mentioned, the term deviation. It's outside of the legal limit. So the ward maps need to be redrawn. Usually this is a custom that's followed every 10 years when the new census is done, and that's where the term census block came from. And so that every 10 years, the census would be looked at, and then the deviation would be looked at. If there was enough of a problem, then the map would be redrawn. Sometimes if there's not a big problem, then they're not. But usually population shifts fast enough so that a new map would be needed every 10 years. So there's another issue with some of the boundaries that were drawn. We had one ward that started here, came down here, swooped over this way. We had another that came way up here, came down, swooped out that way. So when CASA and other members of the community were looking at this issue, trying to think of a good way to redraw maps, we made the maps much simpler, where these are more rectangular shapes for these districts. And they're basically, there's the 2 from the south divided by Western Avenue. You know, another consideration is trying to keep communities pretty much together when you would normally think of a community. We try to keep those types of communities together rather than spreading them out. So this is one of the reasons Ruth and Annabelle are experts with the software that draws the maps. Okay, but they don't live in Blue Island, so they're not familiar with the communities and the neighborhoods. So that's why they relied on input from a lot of the citizens to come up with this map. So we have 2 districts, 2 wards on the south, divided by Western Avenue, and then they go up to pretty much where they need to stop. So then we have a district, a ward coming in from the west, and one coming in from the east, which are more irregular shaped because of the borders of the city. But when they touch the other wards, they're not that irregularly shaped. You see this diagonal line? Well, that's the CSX railroad tracks. So we've got south, west, and east. So then we have a big one in the north. And then that leaves 2 pretty much rectangular wards right in the center of town. And some of these lines of division are very common to us all. You know, 127th Street, 123rd Street, you know, Maple, Highland, in a sense, you know, those kinds of borders. So, if anyone has any questions or comments about this map, feel free to speak up. Yes, sir.
Who got the numbers for all these districts? Of the people that are, how do you know how many are in there?
From the census, you can actually get
Where's
software,
that?
the US Census, it's done every 10 years, you can get software that tells you how many people live on each city block. So you could actually say, well, we need to put 10 more people from this green down into this one, and we can actually make another line there.
Yeah, this actually shows.
Yeah, but I mean, that ain't right, there's people that died and gone and coming, and you're gonna have to count them. Yeah.
Well, if they were counted in 2010, then they're counted on this map.
Oh, yeah, it's what it did, but I'm just saying.
That's why every 10 years, it's a good practice to go through this exercise. Yes?
I just noticed on the new map that the third ward looks pretty convoluted. Can you explain why that is?
Well, that's all coming in
Especially
from
coming
the,
from the north.
yeah, that's all coming in from the east towards the center of town. Now, this part up here is an industrial area, so there's a lot of census blocks that have no people in them at all. And then this place here is like the neighborhood around Paul Revere School, but then it follows Vincennes down to 127th Street. And then here, it follows Division, I believe.
My name is LaTanya Simmons, and I have a statement about the CASA map that's being proposed. You know, in my opinion, it's not going to help the African Americans in Blue Island. It's just going to hurt us. You know, if you split it, I would like to see a higher percentage of minorities. You know, the third ward, you know, it's like a family there. You know, if you split it up, it's not going to be good. You know, I like my Alden, I like Nancy Rita. If you split it up, it'll be a terrible thing. So please don't.
Where do you see the split?
I'm Rachelle Roscoe. I'm from the 7th Ward, and the CASA map, I don't like it. I don't like it because, like you said, you want to keep communities together. Blue Station Apartments is part of our community. When we had a meeting, when Mr. Scott originally started Neighborhood Watch Group 37, the people on 119th Place always was included in our group. Now, as far as the way we're routed right now, I would think that we would include them all the way up to Western, because we always met as a community. And I would hate to lose the Blue Station Apartment. That's part of our community. Though that's one of the people that I email on what's going on in Blue Island. And I don't like it. It looked like the 7th Ward was just chopped up. And you know, I ran over 2 blocks from my house. There's Vincennes. It's not even 2 blocks, a block and a half. I have to go past Blue Station Apartment. I want to keep up with that. I want the appearances of that to look good, okay? All the way until 119 and Vincennes. So I don't like the way you did this. Not for the 7th Ward. I think the people who live in the areas, they're the ones who should kind of make the decision on the way it should be broke up. We're not broke as bad as the rest of them. We're only missing 40 people. So if they take the 7th Ward and go up to Western, we're done. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you. Who's next?
Right, because with the 7th Ward, there is as it currently draws, that the hill, you know, just up the street, a block east of you, or west of you, is the current border. So it's kind of a tough one, because you're right there in a
But the
narrow
5th Ward
spot.
is at the top of the hill. The 5th Ward are my neighbors, Sandra Phillips, another neighbor, Rita. They all meet with us to try to improve the different things in our community. And you just put us in a little box. Blue Station apartment is a plus to Blue Island. We finally got somebody in there to take care of the apartments, you know, and I would like to keep that. So that's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
My name is Casper Mack, 1847 Vermont Street in Blue Island. I lived here 55 years. I've been in business for 30 years here in the 3rd Ward. And I can see we got new streets, lights, everything we got over there. Fixed the parks up, we done the train station, and now you're gonna throw the Rita family into some other different ward. I think that's a horrible disgrace. And I still believe when I ask you about that counting, you gotta go house to house, because you don't know how many people are in the houses. You're just taking some census that where only the landlords are gonna be registered. You don't know how many are in the basement. That's the only way you're gonna get the right count. Thank you.
All righty then.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Oliver Guzman, 12547 Irving Avenue. And the problem that I have in that ward is during the winter time, going up and down 127th Street, when it snows, those walks are hardly ever plowed. And it's hard getting up and down on 127th Street. As far as you're saying about the apartment buildings on 127th and you want on the Center Street, you want to keep in touch with the ones on 119th Street. I would think it was apartment buildings. I don't know, I don't live, I used to live there. I know those are just transitional apartment buildings. And I think a better question is how many registered voters are actually in there. That's really the most important issue. It's not the population of people that are in those apartment buildings. I know that a lot of people aren't registered voters. You need to find out how many people are actually actively voters in that situation if you want to solve the concern. That is the important part of that one and the ones down in Fairview. Because those are really transitional apartments. People move there and they move out. So as far as that's concerned, it's just all transition. It's just not stable. That's all I want to say.
Thank
And I
you.
think that needs to be taken into consideration because you got to find out how many registered voters are in these districts here, are in those wards like in those apartment buildings. Because a lot of times it should take a lot of time and a lot of resolve. That's what I would want. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so some of the numbers on that you can use with this is there's total population, which was based on the 2010 census.
I
And then
understand.
there's also the voting age population, which takes into account who's children and who's adults. And then there's also the citizen voting age population, which talks about who's actually eligible to register to vote. It doesn't talk about who is registered to vote.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to get across.
Right.
That's very important.
All right, next.
How you doing?
How you doing?
My name is Ronnie Patterson, live at the 1836 High Street in Blue Island. I just want to come here and say that I really like my city representative as it is, but I think citywide there should be more representatives of African Americans. I also believe that the map that CASA is proposing doesn't represent African Americans as well. Thank you, I just want to let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this map, oh, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I just wanted to speak to the question of African American and Latino representation. In the map that I have put together with CASA, there would be 3 majority Black districts by citizen voting age population and 1 majority Latino district, which would mean that you could potentially elect 6 candidates of choice of the Black community and 2 candidates of choice of the Latino community, but then there also could be coalitions between different racial and ethnic groups in many of those groups. So at the moment, there's only, we think, 2 candidates of choice of the Black community and 2 of the Latino community on the city council, and we think that would change substantially with this map.
I'm Joseph Martin from 13201 South Ashland and Blue Island. And I live at Phase Point. And we are the blue chip out that nobody talks about. And really want to see it. But you talked about the census in the communities, you talked about 2010 census. We are at phase one, we're dominated by seniors. We have 2 senior buildings going up since census, right? Are we counted in this when we remap this? Because we worked diligently to get the people who've been over there approximately 30 years, a few people there. The new housing development, she looked at it, that's only about 6 to 8 of them. And the ones who've been there for about the new housing and the seniors to work together. Now, at this point that we've got a good working relationship in our community and our representatives, we would love for phase one to stay in the second award. So, phase one is a little tip. You know what phase one is?
Yeah.
There's a way to tip out there that's on this proposal, it's not even here, but you want this off. Yeah. So we understand it.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Bauer, and I live on the street. When you made this, why couldn't you have made the part of the 6th Ward tie into the 4th Ward north of the canal rather than cut us off?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that sentence? What you last said?
What you got us in now, we're in the 6th Ward, and you got, we should have had the boundary at the canal and let everything north of the boundary go into 1 ward and south of the canal go in another ward.
Which ward are you currently in now?
I think I'm in the 4th ward.
Oh, sorry. Just a clarification, this map that's been submitted, the only map so far was drawn by the outside organization. We're taking comments to maybe make changes, maybe not, depending on the public input and stuff like that. So we appreciate your comment. Thank you.
My name is Anna Stang. I'm currently in the 3rd Ward, and I hadn't planned to speak tonight, but I would just like to remind everybody that we are one Blue Island. And the goal of this remapping and why we're supposed to check this and do it after each census is so that we remain one Blue Island and not be in like these separate little places, and fiefdoms is probably not a good word, but it's, we're all working together. So even though you have an alderman who is elected from your particular ward, all of our aldermen are working for all of Blue Island. So I don't see that if our ward maps get changed a bit or drastically, that it's a bad thing. You may have to get used to another council person who is your representative, but that doesn't mean that your neighborhood is going to be a different neighborhood. Just because a certain group of houses is in a different ward doesn't mean that they aren't your neighbors anymore, and you can't still have your community block organizations or neighborhood organizations the same as what you already have. And so I think that the important issue that this map addresses, and whether it's this map or another map, is that we have actual proportional representation within the city by ward. So that I think however the map is drawn, it should look like you have some neighborhood continuity, but more importantly, that everyone's voice is actually represented, and represented fairly. So,
Thank you.
I just want to leave one last point on what she just said, is that diversity is really, really the cause here. And as far as building communities that are just culturally, anchored, I think is wrong. I think the boundary should take into effect different cultures and diversify through all the world. The world should be diversified, and not just based on Black, Hispanic, but like where possible. I know sometimes some communities are very stable, but I think more diverse wards would be better. That's how I just want to
Thank you.
I think people are apprehensive to some of the change, but at the same time, you hear people talking all the time about how they want things to change and be better. Certainly what we're, based upon what we're hearing here is the wards are gonna have to change. Hopefully more people will be happy than sad. And if you prefer to call Nancy Thompson whenever you have an issue, or you prefer to call Fred, even if your ward changes a little bit, continue to call them. I think they will take your call anyway. What's really important is getting the ward map straightened out fairly and acknowledging that it'll have to be done again in, would it be 5 years? And 5 more years. So if you're not completely happy with the way it's drawn right now, Ms. Greenwood has made it real easy for anyone who doesn't like the existing map and the proposed map. Well, the existing ward maps have to change, but what's proposed, absolutely, feel free to come up with an alternative, several alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sharon Smith. I live in the 7th Ward, and I live in Blue Station Apartments, and I agree with you. I don't want to be cut out. I don't want to be divided. I love where I live. And I love Nancy. I love all of the aldermen, Bob, Rita, everyone. But I love it, and don't put me in a box. Don't divide me.
Hi, my name is Eric Bearden. I live in 6th Ward in California Gardens.
Eric, I didn't catch your last name.
Bearden, B-A-R-D-E-N. Yep. And I've been living there all my life. My grandparents built the house I live in the 60s or something like that. I graduated from Eisenhower High School in '02, and I just think that everybody does need to have a fair representation. And I think by switching, even though like the change is hard for some people to adjust to the change, I think overall the change is necessary in order to have everything equally diversified. Because I was surprised that it hasn't changed in 20-something years since the last census. I just think that reflects people being stuck in their ways. And like if you have an issue with like dealing with new people, maybe it's time to get used to dealing with new people and maybe making new rules and building up other parts of the community with people that don't have their community, as built up as a certain section of it. I mean, I live on the tip of right there in California Gardens on the southwest tip of the city here. So for me, it doesn't really, I'm not sure even how that affects me, but I do know that, we need to be properly represented, so I just think that it's time to, make a change and we all work together because everybody's here, because we want a better Blue Island, an undivided Blue Island, indivisible with justice for all. That's what we're here for. So, that's just my take on it. I didn't speak last time because I actually got the letter from CASA, and I just wanted to make a change in my community. So that's why I originally came here, because I saw that, and I have been planning on making, thinking about ways that I can make a change in my community. I recently reached out to Mayor Vargas about him making a change in my community of the Blue Island Rec Center. He got new management in it, and the city did gutted it out and put a lot of funds into making it a better place. And I plan on being a part of the Blue Island Recreation Center and working with the kids in the community and, having different programs, after school programs and whatnot, just to, keep kids going on the right, just here for the future. That's all, just here to encourage the youth. And I'm sure everybody here is, so I think that's the one common thing that we all have in common. We all want our community to be better off. So, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
this map change is necessary for those who think it's just arbitrary. This is, by law, necessary. And it's designed to better, to provide equity as far as numbers are concerned, as far as our representation is concerned. And so those of you who are apprehensive about the plan have an opportunity to look at it and suggest changes that you'd like to see. Keeping in mind that we're trying to maintain the same or similar numbers in each district or ward. And so it's for the benefit of this group, this community. Of course, it's mandated for one thing. And secondly, it is for our benefit since the census, recent census, 2010 census shows there's inequities among the numbers in the wards. And so we don't want to be that way. We want to be equitable throughout this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Joe Gatrell, 12607 Artesian. And on a personal level, I agree with those who say that change is necessary. And I personally, we have 14 aldermen. I'm comfortable with all of them. We get a chance to re-elect them, 7 of them every 2 years. There's no guarantee that your favorite alderman is going to be re-elected. And there's no locked-in certainty that if your alderman's residence of the ward change, they're not going to be re-elected. So please take that into consideration. Personally, living where I live at Burlsall and Artesian, if you moved my one home into the 2nd ward and Alderman Frausto is my alderman, I'd be perfectly comfortable with that. He's a good alderman. We've got 14 people that represent us. They're all good. Take that into consideration. One of Blue Island's historical problems is that we have refused to change. And you're looking at CASA as if it's a subversive organization. They're here to help. Please look at them that way. They're not against any particular political organization or group or person. We have to embrace change. And that's one of the things that they're trying to get across. And they're doing this at their expense, which I think is a big, big benefit to the community. So one other thing I would like to request is we appreciate that you've asked for input and we've given it. And I'm sure others would like to hear from the committee. We haven't heard anything from the committee. Now this is the 2nd meeting. And I do mean all the committee members. You haven't shut down on this process. You have opinions just like we do. So before the evening's over, if we could hear your opinions on this map and other proposed changes, it would be greatly appreciated. Don't keep us waiting. Thank you.
I'm going to read something that I don't want to forget to read. I did get one email to my city account. I want to make sure I read that. I just wrote myself a note. It says, Dear Chairman Bellato, my name is Jason Ulrich and I live in the 4th Ward. I heard about the redistricting and I am very concerned the proposed map shows the south end of the 4th Ward being allocated to the 6th Ward. That means my neighborhood would be cut off from the rest of the ward by the canal. I don't understand how this would provide me with better representation. I'm happy with my current alderman. Please let this email represent my position at the hearing as I'm unable to attend. I asked for exactly where he's at. He's on 130 block of Western Avenue. So I just want to make sure I read that in the record.
But what was your response to him?
But I'll read it in the record.
Oh.
Alan Stevo, 2324 Union, Blue Island, lifelong Blue Island resident. The reason we're here tonight is because our elected officials neglected to do this. They neglected to draw the map on time, and they continue to neglect it. And good residents of our neighborhood, of our community, stood up and they said they had enough of this illegal activity, And that's why they're here today. And there's no guarantee who's gonna run for office, there's no guarantee who's gonna be elected. The best person always gets elected. And conversely, if you look at the 28th Legislative District, Bob Rita's district, that's designed to be an African-American legislator. And through the shenanigans of the Democratic Party, they discarded very good candidates to keep Bob Rita unopposed in the election. So you see, we don't know how this is going to turn out. And if we don't like it, and again, a more accurate map will be drawn within 5 years, right after the next census, 2020 census. So keep in mind what goes on in the 28th district, and there's no guarantees. But what we have to do is continue to elect the best people that our community can. Thank you very much.
Any comments from the committee or attorney?
Yeah, thank you everyone for your comments and your participation. I took as detailed the notes as I could. I appreciate that. Luckily I had the alderman here telling me where the apartments were located and everything, so I think I have a pretty good handle on that. And we were sort of plotting them out on the map here. If there's no other comments, then I think I certainly have plenty of work for myself to do in digesting the CASA plan, the current plan, and the comments that have been presented here today. So thank you all again for your time.
So again, my name is Mark Keener, 2250 Orchard in Blue Island. I just wanted to point out a couple of important facts that have to do with all these different numbers. That we have majority Hispanic in almost every ward that's drawn on this new map, as far as the total population. Now this also reflects a lot of the changing demographics with children, and so when you move from total population to voting age population and citizen voting age population, those numbers change again. So when you actually look at citizen voting age population, 2 of the wards are majority white, 2 are majority Hispanic, 3 are majority black. So this reflects a lot of the changes that actually go on in the community over time. And I think this is one of the benefits that a couple people have spoken to, that it reflects the changes in our community and it gives us a springboard on how to move into the future. One of the other things that occurred was that a couple people mentioned that the Blue Station apartments were changed from the 7th Ward, but the proposed map from CASA and others still have the Blue Station apartments in the 7th Ward. It goes from the Metro tracks all the way up to Greenwood Avenue, from 123rd Street up to 119th. So I'm, just making that clarification, that the Blue Station apartments are still in the 7th Ward, according to the proposed map.
Thank you. Mr. Keener, if you may, I have a question. Maybe perhaps Ms. Green, you're better answer. You talked about the citizen voting age population, and what surveys is that derived from? Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so the latest release from the American Community Survey, it has the 5-year estimates from 2008 to 2013, and they only go down to the block group level. So I've disaggregated them to the block level, weighting it by the population. So for example, if in an area you have 100 citizens and you know what the citizenship percentage is by race, then you can work out if there are more. I can explain this to you.
I just want to know what data.
Yeah, so it's the ACS data. So the new release of the ACS data that would go to the end of 2014 with CVAP numbers is coming out in January.
Okay. What we're talking about is how you measure citizenship. You may not know this, but when we take the census every 10 years, the federal government counts every single person gets counted. The census form that you get in the mail from the government doesn't ask you whether or not you're a citizen. So we have to estimate that. And the reason that the federal government doesn't ask you about citizenship is because they think that it would be a disincentive for people to answer the question. And so that's why we don't do it. And the ACS survey that Ms. Greenwood measured, it estimates based on a sample of 2.5% of the population. And then you project that out over various communities, and its geographic measure is somewhat different than census block data is, so you have to sort of overlay them. And what we were just discussing was how she overlaid that data, and I just wanted to clarify that. So I hope that's helpful.
Carol DePace Green again. So when you put your data together, what information will you be using? Will it be the same information that Ms. Greenwood is using, or are you gonna gather your numbers from a different source?
It's the same data.
So it would be the same data?
It's the census blocks are
The census
tools.
blocks.
Yeah, when you do this, if you haven't had a chance to do the program, I haven't used this software, I use similar software, but it's it's an interesting thing. It's sort of like putting together a puzzle, and you can drag the census blocks and connect them, and then it will automatically tabulate the population so that you know what the population as you are constructing it. So it's
I understood that aspect of it, but for clarification for the public, you know, just for them to know that you'll be gathering your information from the same resources that she is. So you're not gathering apples and she's gathering oranges. It's the same.
based upon the representations that I believe to be true from Ms. Greenwood, that she's using census data, then we're gonna be using the same data, because that's what I'm.
Okay.
I obviously, if I'm not gathering the apples myself, I can't swear that they're apples. I've been told they're gonna be apples, I'm collecting apples.
Thank you.
Sure.
The map that CASA has, it's, you said 2 African American districts, 3, and how many Hispanic?
1 Latino, majority by CBAP.
But you're saying districts, and I think
Ward,
they need to hear ward.
Okay. I have a problem with that. One of the nice things about Blue Island is that it's very diverse. And when you start segregating certain sections, that, to me, that's a red flag. Because then I think the benefits also be segregated, so I have a problem with it.
But they're not.
These people are already there.
They're integrating them, they're not segregating them, they're changing it.
So they're changing the map,
They're
so that
integrating it.
the majority of
They're
the
integrating it, they're not segregating.
Okay, that's
The
what I'm
opposite is
asking.
happening, yes. Yes.
If you look on the website for the proposed wards, it lists out I can put the CBAP numbers up there as well as citizen voting age population. It lists out the total population and the Black, White, and Latino voting age population. And so district wards 3, 6, and 7 would be majority Black, as in over 50%, not more than over 50%. And Ward 2 would be over 50% Latino by CBAP. Citizen voting.
Can you repeat those numbers? I'm just curious. You said 3, 6, I can't read that graph. 3, 6, and 7 are majority African American?
Yeah, and Ward 2 would be majority Latino. You can see this on the Google map.
I'll look at it, but just since we're here.
Yep.
I'll look at it. And so 3 wards for African American, 1 Latino, so that would be 2 for white.
The first ward would be majority white, the second majority Latino, the third, and as I mentioned, 6 and 7 majority Black, and then wards 4 and 5 would be a plurality of the 3 different racial and ethnic groups, with the highest number in Ward 4 being the Latino population at 36%, and in Ward 4, the highest of the plurality is white.
Eric Beard again. So I just wanted to know, like, prior to now, like in census 2010 and census 2000, why does it take an organization like CASA to come bring this issue to light? Like, what if it's a federal law, then why wasn't it mandated on the city level if it was something that, I mean, because that's why I'm here. It said that my federal rights were violated. So, I mean, why was this ignored?
We weren't here. Nobody, majority of the council was not here. We mostly got.
No.
Not true.
I mean, but okay, so let's say that's true though. Let's say that it's here. Why do you guys think that the council before you didn't change it? I mean, they were the lead. I mean, wouldn't they want to make a reasonable law? Like, do you guys think that the council in 2030 will come by, pick up some laws that you guys made in 2020, and then they look like, oh, well, and they can't explain why you guys did what you did? I mean, because you guys seem reasonable, so I think everything that you do, you have an explanation and a reason for it, and you can explain it. So why can't you explain what the generation before you did? What was their, what benefited them in doing this and not passing this federal law, or not abiding by a law that, you guys get what I'm saying?
I would say ask the previous administration or the mayor or clerk or treasurer.
So you guys have no idea?
In 2000, nobody was on the council except for 1 or 2 aldermen out of 14.
What about 2010? Was that?
Same thing, where only 1 or 2 aldermen were on the council.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to know if
we want to handle this now. We want it to be fair.
That's a very good question, sir. But you're trying to get to the question of why somebody or somebodies didn't do something. And nobody knows what motivates anybody's behavior except them. So your guess is as good as ours.
All right, fair enough. Thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Bearden, I want to answer that from my perspective. I'll be blunt. I mean, I'm not an attorney. I don't know election law. Election law is its own segment. It's very complicated, and there's a lot to know about that. That's not my profession. So, I'll be honest. I've been on the council for 4 years. I wish I could answer that question. Why are we at 26 years now since it's been changed? Everybody here is on board, but even the council members that don't serve on this committee, that we need to bring it back to par. In respect with equal amount of population in each ward. It's not fair that I'm one of the wards that we serve a slightly bigger population. I believe the 5th ward is about 500 more residents.
Yeah.
They're I guess you could say you're working a little bit harder for the same position.
Right.
From my standpoint, I don't mind. I take calls from other wards all the time. I have I have the ability to speak 2 languages, so I would say Blue Island is predominantly Hispanic, and then African American, and then white, and whatever other denominations are in Blue Island. So there's only two aldermen, and the mayor as well, that are Hispanic, and people can relate to and call them with their issues, whether they can't really speak English that good or not. So in that respect, that's why we do need diversity here. But again, I'll go back to that. I wish I could answer that, why is it taking so long, but the good thing is that we're here doing it.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
And we'll be here again probably in 6 years,
Yep.
to do it again.
Yeah.
I hope I can.
Yeah, we're definitely glad that we have you guys here. And, we're all working together to come up with a good solution for everybody.
I think the majority, everybody I talked to in the council, and everybody wants to change this. They want to bring it into compliance. They want the numbers to be equal. They want more representation. I don't think there's anything against that. So, I appreciate your concern.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
It's just trying to move forward. Whatever happened in the past is the past. We're just trying to fix now something that should have been done in the past. Forget about all that. We're on the verge of correcting this thing now. There's no sense in putting blame back there and just move this forward. I mean, these people are working hard, and I appreciate all the jobs that they've done. At least they've come up with an idea. Now, if somebody else wants to bring up a map and do it. Now, as far as all these aldermen and all these voting things I've been asking about, it's the people's responsibility to get up and vote for your alderman. If you got people voting age, they don't show up to vote, that's not the alderman's fault. That's not nobody else's fault, but their fault. So let's just leave all this behind and just take this Let's move it on forward. Forget everything else. We'll clean this up one way or the other. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
To answer Eric's question, a little history here. The reason is a mystery that wasn't changed earlier. But we have to keep in mind that Attorney Mayor Vargas was chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and it was his duty to see to it that this was changed, and he neglected to do so. But perhaps you can ask Attorney Mayor Vargas why. And I can only guess that it was a way for them to hold on to the power they had. They don't want to change anything. But the answer lies with the former chairman of the Judiciary, Attorney Mayor Vargas.
Part of Alan's, I agree with part of, well, everything that he said. But in addition to being Mayor Vargas and an attorney and the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, he was also Mayor Pro Tem. One of the things we don't have is transparency and fairness. And certainly there are aldermen who are on the council currently that were very aware that the ward map was out of compliance. One of the things that needs to happen is in the committees, there needs to be transparency and full disclosure. And that's something that we don't have. Bills are presented for bill payment and aldermen vote on them, but I'm quite sure you don't know in detail what it is that you're voting to pay for. It's no secret that following the census, the ward maps have to be redone. Part of what needs to go into the paperwork is that information, because it's part of the Judiciary Committee. Your city attorney is representing you, the alderman. I'm sure if she neglected to tell you, well, the census has been completed, it's time for you to redo these maps, that's an issue. These are all very serious and critical issues. An attorney is expected to know these things. The average John Q. citizen is not going to know these things. And you brought up some really great points, Fred. There are people who've been in elected office for 20 years. Our current mayor. There's no way in the world you're going to be able to convince 100% of the citizens in Blue Island that he didn't know. He's educated, he's an attorney. Maybe he forgot one day, but I don't think he forgot every day of 20 years. The same thing with other people who have been in elected office for a period of several years. And there was some discussion that the previous mayor had with the council that it was time to redo the census or redo the ward maps, but he thought it would be too expensive. At what cost? I mean, what does redoing the ward maps actually cost? Certainly, we have new ward maps hanging up at City Hall that were all printed and have the aldermen's names on them. The same way that it costs, for example, $5,000 to print those maps. Would it have cost that much more to do the census, follow the census, create the correct wards correctly, and print the maps? Now the city's going to pay for the maps that were printed after the last election. They're paying you, Mr. Casper, and we're hosting these meetings. When it actually could have had the city remained in compliance, this could have been avoided.
When we sent our initial letter to the city informing them of our concerns about the lack of redistricting and revision of the wards, we were contacted by Mr. Casper. And in the mail exchange, one of the things that Mr. Casper did give us, that apparently the city of Blue Island did do a statistical analysis in 2013 about the ward boundaries, and they knew in 2013 that they were not in compliance. So to feign ignorance or forgetfulness or whatever, I have a very hard time with it. But I have the study here. It was dated 10/23/13. It was given to our attorneys, so we know that the city did do a statistical analysis. They did know about the city not being in compliance and did nothing about it. Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am, if I can respond to that. As I indicated to Ms. Greenwood and her colleagues, that wasn't prepared by the city. That was prepared by a different client of mine, and I just happened to have it, so I shared it with them.
So why would a different client do?
Oh, I represent the Democratic Party, and we did an analysis of most of the municipalities.
Did the city have access to that analysis? Did they know?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Ruth, what do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Well, then I apologize, because I.
Oh, that's okay. There's no apology necessary.
We were under the impression that the study was done by the city in 2013.
I cannot tell you that the city didn't do a study in 2013. I didn't represent, I wasn't involved, but that document that you said was not produced by the city.
It was not.
The one that you just.
All right, then I retract that.
No problem.
Okay.
Even though we're doing a ward configuration here, people are starting to complain about, everything's gotta be done. It had to be done either way. You'd have to hire a lawyer, you'd have to hire other professionals or other surveys to do all this. So a lot of people complaining about doing it now. It would have to be done at practically the same financial cost, I would think. I mean, so, as far as having to be, it being done now, it would have to be done. So I really don't think the financial cost of it, really maybe the past, lack of oversight on the previous administration as far as the census is concerned, that's one thing that's in the past. Let's move this forward.
I'm here tonight to say that I'm in favor of the remapping, but I would like for it to be done correctly. In that, I'm requesting that minorities be heavily considered as we're looking at the remapping. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. Once again, thank you for all of your time this evening and last week. Please, if you have any other thoughts or any other proposals, once you've had an opportunity to familiarize yourself with the software, please don't be shy about submitting them. My intention going forward is to consult individually with the committee members over the testimony, make sure that I have it all correctly, I have all the facts and the apartment numbers and the canal locations and all of that. That I'm conversant in that, and I think that starting with the proposal from CASA and taking into account some of these comments and any other future comments, hopefully the committee will, I'll have something to the committee by the end of next week for publication, for everybody to digest.
I'd like to thank the people from the 7th Ward. Thank you for coming. And those who came, it showed you are interested in this, and I'm happy to see that happening now. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the residents from the 4th Ward and also Jason who sent the email to Fred. I know a lot of the residents are concerned about being kicked out of their wards, and we want to do the best thing possible for our residents and for our constituents. And as a new alderman, I'm just excited to be part of the process, and we can get everything done and everybody represented fairly.
Thank you. If there's nobody else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion's made by Alderman Donahue. Oh, you got
a hand over there.
When is the next meeting?
Oh, I'll go over that again. So the committee has announced several dates. We're going to reveal, I would think, post on the website and make the attorneys aware of the draft 1 map next week. I would say at the end of next week, probably around Thursday or Friday, a week from today. And then we'll meet again. We'll resume January 7th for another committee meeting. And if need be, January 14th for hopefully a final committee meeting if it gets that far, for a final draft. All right? Sounds good. All right, we have a motion by Alderman Donahue. Is there a second? by Alderman Thompson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any